A crumpled napkin, a fleeting act of kindness, and a single moment that turned a superstar's glance into a life-changing opportunity. The late afternoon sun spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Ocean Elegance, Miami's crown jewel of fine dining, casting golden streaks across polished marble floors. Waitresses glided between tables, their black aprons crisp, their smiles practiced but weary. At the heart of it all was Sarah Martinez, 24, a whirlwind of quiet grace in a world that demanded perfection. Her dark hair was pulled into a tight bun, strands escaping as she balanced trays of crystal wine glasses and plates of seared scallops. Her hazel eyes, sharp yet kind, scanned the room, catching every raised hand, every empty glass. She moved like she belonged, but deep down, she felt the weight of never quite fitting in. Sarah wasn't born into Miami's glitz. She grew up in a cramped apartment 10 miles from this oceanfront palace where her father's hospital bills stacked higher than her dreams. Her younger brother, Ethan, 16, needed new sneakers he wouldn't ask for. Her mother was a memory, gone too soon. Yet Sarah smiled, always. She believed kindness was her only currency, even if it rarely paid back. Before we dive in, drop a 1 in the comments if you believe in second chances, smash that like button, and stick around for a jaw-dropping twist at the end. The restaurant buzzed with its usual crowd, tech moguls in tailored suits, influencers snapping photos of their caviar, couples whispering over candlelit tables. The air smelled of truffle oil and ambition. Sarah darted between stations, refilling water, clearing plates, her sneakers squeaking faintly beneath her. She ignored the ache in her calves, the way her hands trembled from skipping lunch. She couldn't afford to slow down. Tips were her lifeline, and Ocean Elegance was a goldmine if you played the game right. But Sarah didn't play games. She listened when a guest mentioned a birthday, remembered their favorite wine, slipped extra bread to a kid who looked hungry. It wasn't strategy, it was instinct. Her co-workers called her soft. Her manager, Victor Callahan, called it a liability. Victor was a hawk in a pressed suit, his grey eyes slicing through the staff like a knife. He ruled with a clipboard and a sneer, barking orders in a voice that made rookies flinch. To him, Ocean Elegance wasn't a restaurant, it was a machine, and every waiter was a cog. Sarah knew he watched her closely, waiting for a slip-up. She couldn't give him one, not today. Then, as the dinner rush peaked, the glass doors swung open, and a man slipped in alone. He wore a black hoodie, sunglasses perched on his head, a backpack slung over one shoulder. He moved with a quiet confidence, head low, as if hoping to blend into the shadows. The hostess, a bubbly blonde named Chloe, led him to a corner table by the window where the ocean churned silver under the fading light. Sarah caught the moment from across the room, her tray wobbling as she paused. Something about him tugged at her memory. The sharp jawline, the easy stride, the way he sank into the chair like he owned the space. Her breath hitched. Could it be? She squinted, heart racing. Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer legend, the face on billboards, the name whispered in sports bars. But here in her restaurant, looking like he wanted to disappear? She shook her head, doubting herself. Miami was full of lookalikes. Still, her gut screamed it was him. Sarah approached his table, her notepad trembling in her hand. Up close, he was unmistakable, the faint scar above his eyebrow, the Rolex glinting under his sleeve, the tired curve of his mouth. He stared out at the waves, his fingers drumming softly on the tablecloth. No entourage, no cameras, just a man, alone, carrying something heavy in his silence. Sarah cleared her throat. "Good evening, sir. Can I start you with something to drink?" Her voice was steady, but her pulse wasn't. He glanced up, his dark eyes meeting hers for a split second. They were guarded, searching, like he was sizing her up. "Sparkling water," he said, voice low, accented. "And whatever you recommend to eat." He didn't open the menu, just leaned back, waiting. Sarah nodded, scribbling nothing. She didn't need to. She saw the exhaustion in his slumped shoulders, the way he avoided eye contact. He wasn't here for a meal, he was here for escape. Back in the kitchen, she leaned against the counter, catching her breath. Miguel, the line cook, with a crooked grin and flour-dusted apron, nudged her. "You okay, Sar? You look like you saw a ghost." His brown eyes twinkled, but there was worry there. Miguel was her anchor, the one who snuck her leftover fries when Victor wasn't looking. I'm fine, she lied, glancing at the pass. Just think I know that guy out there? Miguel raised an eyebrow but didn't push. He slid a plate of grilled octopus her way. For table 12. Don't let Victor catch you daydreaming. Sarah forced a smile, grabbing the plate. As she wove through the dining room, she stole glances at the man in the hoodie. He hadn't touched his water, just stared at his phone, scrolling aimlessly. Her heart twisted. She'd seen that look before, on her father after a bad chemo day, on Ethan when bullies got to him. Whoever he was, he needed more than food. Sarah made a decision. She'd treat him like she treated everyone, with care. She brought his sparkling water, adding a slice of lemon unasked. She suggested the grilled sea bass, simple but perfect, and promised it'd be quick. He nodded, barely looking up, but she caught a flicker of gratitude in his eyes. She lingered a moment, wanting to say more, but Victor's shadow loomed nearby. She hurried off, her mind racing. If it was Ronaldo, she wouldn't make a scene, no selfies, no gossip, just respect. She'd learned that from her mom, who'd always said, people aren't their fame, they're their pain. Sarah believed it. She saw it in every guest, every story etched in their faces. But this man's pain felt deeper, like a tide pulling him under. As the night wore on, Sarah kept an eye on his table. She refilled his water before he asked, swapped his napkin when he dropped it, brought a side of roasted vegetables she knew paired well with the base. Small things, but deliberate. She noticed he ate slowly, picking at the food, his eyes drifting to the ocean again. Once he smiled faintly when she set down the vegetables, murmuring, "Thanks." Her chest warmed. It was enough. Near the end of his meal, she did something reckless. She grabbed a napkin, scribbled a note in her loopy handwriting. "You've inspired so many. Hope tonight brings you peace." She folded it tight, her hands shaking. Then, checking Victor wasn't watching, she slipped a 10% discount into his bill. It was against policy, but the sea bass was overpriced, and she sensed he didn't care about the cost. He needed a gesture, not a transaction. When she brought the bill, she tucked the napkin beneath it, her heart pounding. "Whenever you're ready, sir," she said, voice soft. He nodded, still distant, and she walked away, feeling like she'd just jumped off a cliff. She didn't expect him to read it, didn't expect anything, but it felt right. She returned to her other tables, pouring wine for a loud tech bro, laughing at a regular's bad joke. Mrs. Thompson, a silver-haired widow who came every Friday, patted her hand. "You're a gem, Sarah," she said, her blue eyes kind. Sarah blushed, brushing it off. She didn't feel like a gem. She felt like a tightrope walker, one misstep from falling. Then it happened. Victor's voice cut through the hum of the dining room like a siren. "Martinez!" She froze, a pitcher of water in her hands. He stood by Ronaldo's table, holding her napkin, his face a storm cloud. The bill folder lay open, the discount glaring. Sarah's stomach dropped. She set the pitcher down, her legs heavy as she approached. "What's this?" Victor snapped, waving the napkin. His voice carried, drawing eyes from nearby tables. "You writing love notes now? And discounting meals without approval?" Sarah's cheeks burned. She glanced at Ronaldo, who looked up, confused, his sunglasses back on. "It's just a thank you," she stammered. "I thought—" Victor cut her off. "You thought? This isn't a charity, Martinez. This is ocean elegance. You don't get to play Mother Teresa on my dime." His words stung, sharp as glass. Sarah's eyes prickled, but she blinked hard, refusing to cry. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. Guests whispered, forks clinking awkwardly. Mrs. Thompson frowned from her table, her hands clasped tight. Miguel peeked from the kitchen door, his face tense. Sarah tried again. "I didn't mean any harm, Mr. Callahan. I just wanted to—" Victor's laugh was cold. "Save it. You're done. Grab your things and get out." The words hit like a punch. Done. Fired. Her mind reeled. She opened her mouth, but nothing came. Ronaldo shifted in his seat, his jaw tight, but he didn't speak. Maybe he hadn't heard it all. Maybe he didn't care. Sarah's throat closed. She untied her apron, hands numb, and handed it to Victor. "I'm sorry," she whispered, not sure who she was apologizing to. Victor turned away, already barking at Chloe to cover Sarah's tables. The napkin lay crumpled on the table, unread. Sarah walked to the staff room, her vision blurring. The clatter of plates, the murmur of voices, it all faded to a dull roar. She grabbed her backpack, her hoodie, her dignity. Miguel caught her at the back door. "Sarah, wait. This ain't right. You don't deserve this." His voice cracked, but she shook her head. "I'm fine." She lied again. She wasn't fine. She was shattered. She stepped into the humid Miami night, the ocean's salt tang mixing with her tears. Her sneakers scuffed the pavement as she headed to the bus stop, each step heavier than the last. She thought of Ethan's face when she'd tell him, her father's cough, the bills in the drawer. She'd lost everything for a napkin note, for a moment of kindness. And Ronaldo? He was gone, probably already forgetting her. What she didn't know was that someone had seen it all. Mrs. Thompson, her eyes sharp behind her glasses, had watched every word. And Ronaldo, slipping the napkin into his pocket, had felt something shift inside him, something he couldn't ignore. Sarah's night was over, but her story was just beginning. The Miami night pressed against the windows of Sarah's small apartment, the hum of a distant reggaeton beat mixing with the rattle of an ancient air conditioner. Inside, the living room was dim, lit only by a flickering table lamp that cast long shadows across peeling wallpaper. Sarah sat on the sagging couch, still in her work hoodie, her sneakers kicked off by the door. Her backpack slumped beside her, untouched, like it held the weight of her failure. The clock on the wall ticked too loud, each second a reminder of what she'd lost. Her hands rested in her lap, fingers tracing the calluses from years of carrying trays, wiping tables, faking smiles. Her hazel eyes, red from crying, stared at the coffee table, where a stack of unpaid bills mocked her. Rent, electric, her father's meds, each one a brick on her chest, crushing the air from her lungs. She'd failed. Not just herself, but Ethan, her 16-year-old brother, who needed her to be strong. Her father, whose cough echoed from the bedroom, needed her to keep them afloat. She'd gambled on kindness, and the world had laughed in her face. The apartment smelled of yesterday's rice and beans, a faint trace of her father's menthol rub lingering in the air. It was home, but tonight it felt like a cage. Sarah's phone buzzed on the cushion beside her, but she ignored it. Probably Chloe, texting to check in, or worse, a group chat blowing up with gossip about her firing. She couldn't face it, not yet. Her mind replayed the scene at Ocean Elegance, Victor's voice slicing through her, the napkin crumpled in his hand. Had Ronaldo seen it? Had he read her note? She doubted it. He was probably halfway to a private jet by now, her small gesture lost in the blur of his life. She leaned back, closing her eyes, but the images wouldn't stop. The guests staring, Mrs. Thompson's frown. Miguel's helpless look from the kitchen. She'd walked out with nothing but her pride, and even that felt tattered. A soft knock broke the silence. Sarah tensed, glancing at the door. Ethan was at a friend's house, studying for a math test he swore he'd ace. Her father was asleep, knocked out by pain meds. Who'd come this late? She stood, wiping her face, and padded to the door in her socks. Through the peephole, she saw Miguel, his chef's jacket slung over his shoulder, his crooked grin fading when he saw her open the door. "Sa, you look like hell," he said, stepping inside without asking. His voice was warm, but his brown eyes were worried, scanning her like he could see the cracks she was hiding. "You didn't answer my texts. Had to make sure you weren't, like, burning your apron in protest or something." Sarah forced a laugh, but it came out hollow. "I'm fine, Miguel. Just processing." She waved him to the couch, shutting the door softly. Miguel sat, his knee bouncing, a habit when he was nervous. He set a paper bag on the table, the smell of fresh empanadas wafting out. "Brought you these. Made them after my shift. Figured you didn't eat." Sarah's stomach growled, betraying her, but she shook her head. "You didn't have to." Miguel shrugged. "Yeah, I did. Your family, sir. And what Victor did, that was bullshit. You don't deserve that." His voice hardened, but softened when he saw her flinch. "Look, I know you're hurting, but you're tougher than this. Remember when you trained me, I was dropping plates left and right and you didn't let me quit. Now it's my turn." Sarah's eyes stung. She wanted to believe him, but the weight was too heavy. "It's not just the job," she whispered. "It's Ethan, Dad, everything. I can't let them down, and I just did." Miguel leaned forward, his hands clasped. "You didn't let nobody down. You did what you always do. Saw someone hurting and tried to help. That guy, whoever he was, he saw it too. I bet he's thinking about you right now." Sarah scoffed, wiping her nose. Yeah, right. If it was who I think, he's probably at some yacht party, not worrying about a waitress he'll never see again. Miguel grinned, shaking his head. You don't know that. People notice you, Sarah. You're like sunshine in a storm. Corny, I know, but it's true. She rolled her eyes, but a tiny spark flickered in her chest. Miguel always knew how to pull her back, even if just a little. He nudged the bag. Eat, then sleep. Tomorrow's a new day. He stood, squeezing her shoulder. And hey, I'm saving for that food truck, right? When I get it, you're my partner. Deal? Sarah nodded, too tired to argue. Deal. After Miguel left, the apartment felt quieter, but his words lingered. Sarah opened the bag, pulling out an empanada, its warmth seeping into her hands. She took a bite, the flaky crust and savory beef grounding her, if only for a moment. She glanced at her phone, finally checking it. 3 texts from Chloe, 1 from Mrs. Thompson saying, "Call me if you need to talk, dear." Sarah's heart warmed, but she set the phone down. She couldn't talk, not yet. She curled up on the couch, the empanada half eaten, and let her eyes drift shut. Sleep came in fragments, broken by dreams of Victor's sneer, Ronaldo's tired eyes, the napkin fluttering to the floor. Across town, in a penthouse suite overlooking Miami's glittering skyline, Cristiano Ronaldo sat alone. The room was sleek, all glass and leather, a bottle of sparkling water sweating on the coffee table. His phone glowed, notifications piling up, sponsors, agents, friends who weren't really friends. He ignored them, his thumb tracing the edge of a folded napkin. Sarah's note. He'd read it in the car after leaving Ocean Elegance, the words hitting like a quiet thunderbolt. You've inspired so many. Hope tonight brings you peace. Simple, sincere, no agenda. He leaned back, his jaw tight, the city lights blurring beyond the window. Fame was a cage, one he'd built himself. The world saw the goals, the records, the smile. They didn't see the nights like this, when the noise stopped and the emptiness crept in. His mother's voice echoed in his head, her worry when he sounded distant on their last call. His son's drawings, tucked in his bag, felt like a lifeline he couldn't reach. Ronaldo unfolded the napkin again, rereading the loopy handwriting. He pictured Sarah, her quick smile, her careful hands, the way she'd moved like she was dancing through chaos. She'd seen him, not the icon, but the man. He'd felt it in her glance, her small gestures, the lemon in his water, the vegetables he hadn't ordered, and then Victor's voice, sharp and cruel, as Ronaldo slipped out the door. He hadn't stayed, he'd wanted to, but the eyes on him, the whispers starting, stopped him. Attention was a trap, but the napkin burned in his pocket, a reminder of something real. He'd been adrift lately, the weight of expectations heavier than ever. Injuries, critics, the ticking clock of his career. He was 40, still chasing, still proving. But for what? Sarah's note was a mirror, showing him a truth he'd forgotten. He was more than his name. He picked up his phone, dialing Carla, his assistant. She answered on the first ring, her voice crisp despite the hour. Yes, Cristiano? He paused, the napkin in his hand. The waitress from tonight. Sarah. Find her. I need to talk to her. Carla didn't ask why. She never did. I'll need some details. The restaurant's name? Maybe her last name? Ronaldo gave what he knew, his voice steady but urgent. Do it fast, and keep it quiet. He hung up, setting the phone down. The city sparkled below, indifferent. He stood, pacing, the napkin still in his grip. He didn't know what he'd say to Sarah, but he knew he couldn't let her kindness vanish into the night. It was too rare, too heavy. He owed her something, even if he didn't know what. Back in Sarah's apartment, the morning light crept through the blinds, painting stripes across her face. She stirred, her neck stiff from the couch, the empanada bag crumpled beside her. The clock read 7:32. She groaned, reality crashing back. No job, no plan. She stood, stretching, and shuffled to the kitchen. Ethan's cereal bowl was in the sink, a sticky note on the fridge. Ace the test, be home late. Love ya. Sarah smiled, her heart lifting, then sinking. How would she tell him? She started coffee, the cheap kind that tasted like regret, and checked her father's meds. 2 pills left, her stomach twisted. She'd figure it out. She always did. But today the how felt impossible. Her phone rang, an unknown number. She hesitated, expecting a bill collector, but answered. Hello? A woman's voice, smooth and professional. Is this Sarah Martinez? Sarah frowned, leaning against the counter. Yeah, who's this? A pause. My name's Carla. I work for someone who'd like to meet you. Can you be at the Meridian Hotel by 10? Sarah's pulse spiked. Meet who? What's this about? Carla's tone stayed calm. It's about last night. He wants to thank you. I'll send a car. Sarah's mind raced. He? Ronaldo? No way. It had to be a prank. But Carla's voice was too real, too steady. I mean, why? Sarah stammered. You'll see, Carla said. The car will be there in an hour. The call ended, leaving Sarah staring at her phone, coffee forgotten. Her heart pounded, hope and fear tangling inside her. She didn't know what was coming, but something told her to go. She grabbed her jacket, her hands shaking, and stepped into the unknown, the napkin's words echoing in her mind, a promise she didn't yet understand. The Miami morning was a blaze of color, the sun painting the city in gold and pink as Sarah sat in the back of a sleek black SUV, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The leather seats smelled new, the air conditioning a sharp contrast to the humid heat outside. She wore her best jeans and a simple white blouse, the only outfit she owned that felt remotely appropriate for whatever this was. Her hazel eyes darted to the window, watching palm trees and glass towers blur past. The driver, a quiet man in a black cap, said nothing. Carla, the woman from the phone, sat in the front, her manicured fingers tapping on a tablet. Sarah's stomach churned with questions. Why did Ronaldo want to see her? Was this about the napkin, the discount, the firing? Her mind spun, replaying Victor's sneer, the weight of her apron as she handed it over. She glanced at her phone, where Ethan's sticky note, "Love ya," was her wallpaper. She had to keep it together, for him, for her dad. But hope, fragile and unfamiliar, flickered in her chest. The SUV pulled up to the Meridian Hotel, a discreet gem tucked away from Miami's flashier resorts. Its facade was all clean lines and frosted glass, the kind of place where wealth whispered instead of shouted. Sarah stepped out, her sneakers squeaking on the polished stone driveway. Carla led her inside, her heels clicking with purpose. The lobby smelled of jasmine and cedar, a small fountain bubbling in the center, its sound calming Sarah's nerves, if only slightly. She felt out of place, her blouse too plain, her posture too stiff. Guests in tailored suits and designer dresses glided past, their glances sliding over her like she was invisible. Carla didn't slow, guiding her to a private elevator. "He's waiting upstairs," she said, her voice smooth but warm. Sarah nodded, her throat too tight to speak. The elevator hummed, climbing to the top floor, each second stretching her nerves thinner. What could Ronaldo want? Her note was just a scribble, a moment of instinct. She hadn't expected it to matter. The doors opened to a hallway lined with soft grey carpet and modern art. Carla pointed to a set of double doors, wood carved with subtle patterns. "He's in there. Go ahead." Sarah hesitated, her hand hovering over the handle. Her reflection in the polished brass showed wide eyes, flushed cheeks. She took a breath, pushed the door open, and stepped inside. The room was a suite, all cream and gold, with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the ocean's endless blue. Cristiano Ronaldo sat on a leather couch, no hoodie or sunglasses now, just a fitted black shirt and jeans, his presence filling the space. He stood, his smile small but genuine, his dark eyes locking onto hers. "Sarah," he said, his voice warm, accented. "Thank you for coming." She froze, her heart a drumbeat. He knew her name. This was real. Sarah stood rooted, her hands twisting together. I don't understand," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Ronaldo gestured to a chair across from him, a glass coffee table between them holding a tray of pastries and coffee. "Please, sit." She obeyed, her legs shaky, perching on the edge of the seat. Up close, he was less legend, more human. Lines around his eyes, a faint tension in his jaw. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, the napkin from last night folded neatly beside the tray. "I read your note," he said, his gaze steady. "It hit me, Sarah. Hard. You didn't know me, but you saw me. Not the name, not the whatever people see. You saw a person." Sarah's cheeks burned. She wanted to look away, but his eyes held her. You looked like you needed it," she said, almost apologizing. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Ronaldo's laugh was soft, almost sad. "Trouble? You got fired because of me. Because you were kind. I saw it, Sarah. I saw that man, your boss, tear you down. I should have said something then, but I didn't. I'm saying it now." He paused, leaning back, his fingers brushing the napkin. "I've been to 1,000 restaurants. People want photos, autographs, a piece of me. You didn't. You gave me something instead. Peace for a moment. Do you know how rare that is?" Sarah's throat tightened. She shook her head, unable to speak. She'd only done what felt right, but his words made it feel bigger, heavier. He reached for a black folder on the table, sliding it toward her. "Open it," he said. Her hands trembled as she lifted the cover. Inside was a contract, pages crisp and official, with her name at the top. Manager, it read. Familia Restaurant. A salary that made her eyes widen, benefits listed in neat bullet points. She looked up, confused. "What is this?" Ronaldo smiled, a spark in his eyes. "I'm opening a restaurant here in Miami. Not like the one you worked at. This one's different. It's called Familia, after my family, my roots. I want it to be a place where people feel home, where the staff isn't just staff, they're family too. And I want you to run it, to be the heart of it." Sarah's breath caught. Manager? Her? She'd never managed anything, just hustled through shifts, scraped by on tips. I don't know how," she stammered. "You do," Ronaldo said, his voice firm. "You've got what matters. Heart. The rest, you learn. I saw how you moved last night, how you cared. That's not something you teach." He leaned forward again, his intensity softening. "I was in a dark place, Sarah. The fame, the pressure, it's a lot. Your note reminded me there's still good out there. I want you to help me build something good, too." Sarah's eyes stung, tears threatening. She clutched the folder, her mind racing. It was too much, too fast. She thought of Ethan, her dad, the bills. This could change everything. But doubt crept in. "Why me?" she asked, her voice small. Ronaldo's smile widened. "Because you're you. That's enough." Before she could respond, the door opened and Carla stepped in, followed by Mrs. Thompson, the regular from Ocean Elegance. Her silver hair was swept into a bun, her eyes bright behind her glasses. "Sarah, dear," she said, her voice warm. "I hope I'm not intruding." Sarah blinked, stunned. "Mrs. Thompson? What are you doing here?" The older woman chuckled, settling into a chair. "Cristiano reached out. I saw what happened last night, and I told him you're 1 in a million. I've watched you for months, dear. You treat everyone like they matter. That's rare." Sarah's cheeks flushed. Mrs. Thompson wasn't just a customer, she was a local philanthropist, known for quietly funding community projects. "I'm investing in Familia," Mrs. Thompson added, "and I insisted you be part of it." Sarah's head spun. Ronaldo, Mrs. Thompson, this contract, it was surreal. She wanted to say yes, but fear held her back. "I don't know if I'm ready," she admitted, her voice shaking. Ronaldo leaned forward, his gaze steady. "Nobody's ever ready. You just start. And you won't be alone. Carla's handling operations, and I'll be there when I can. You've got this." Carla nodded, her smile encouraging. "We need someone who understands people, Sarah. That's you." Mrs. Thompson reached across, patting her hand. "Take the leap, dear. You've earned it." Sarah exhaled, the folder heavy in her hands. She thought of Miguel's empanadas, Ethan's sticky note, her dad's cough. This wasn't just a job. It was a chance to rewrite her story. "Okay," she whispered, then louder. "Okay, I'll do it." Ronaldo's grin was electric, the same one that lit up stadiums. "Good, we start next week. The place is being renovated now. But I want you there from the beginning." He stood, reaching into his pocket, and pulled out a small envelope. "One more thing," he said, handing it to her. "This isn't part of the job. It's personal. For what you did for me." Sarah opened it, her hands shaking. Inside was a check, the number so large her breath stopped. Enough to cover rent for a year, her dad's meds, Ethan's school supplies. She covered her mouth, tears spilling. "I can't. This is too much," she said, voice breaking. Ronaldo shook his head. "It's not. You gave me something money can't buy. This is me giving back." Mrs. Thompson smiled, her eyes misty. "You're going to do great things, Sarah," she said. Carla handed her a business card. "Call me tomorrow. We'll get you set up." Sarah nodded, overwhelmed. The envelope and folder clutched to her chest like lifelines. Weeks later, the sun set over Miami's historic Coconut Grove, where Familia stood, a restored 1920s bungalow-turned-restaurant. Its wooden facade glowed under string lights, the sign simple but elegant. Familia. Inside, the air smelled of fresh herbs and warm bread, laughter mingling with soft Latin jazz. Sarah stood at the entrance, her new black blazer crisp, a manager's badge pinned to her chest. Her smile was nervous but real, her hazel eyes bright as she greeted guests. The dining room was alive, tables filled with families, friends, locals who'd heard the buzz. Miguel was in the kitchen, his food truck dream on hold to be Familia's head chef, his grin wide as he plated empanadas. Ethan, in a borrowed tie, bussed tables, his pride in his sister shining. Mrs. Thompson sat at a corner table, sipping wine, her nod to Sarah one of quiet approval. Ronaldo was there too, in the back, no spotlight, just watching. He wore a simple jacket, blending into the crowd, but his presence was a quiet anchor. He caught Sarah's eye as she coached a nervous waiter, her voice patient, her hands steady. He smiled, knowing he'd chosen right. Familia wasn't just a restaurant. It was a promise of warmth, of respect, of second chances. Sarah moved through the night, checking plates, thanking guests, her heart full. She paused by the bar, touching the polished wood the same way she'd once touched the counter at Ocean Elegance. But this was different. This was hers. The pain of that night, Victor's words, the crumpled napkin, it had led her here. As the last guests left, Sarah stood alone in the quiet dining room. The lights dimmed, the music faded. She walked to a window, the ocean dark beyond, and let out a breath she'd been holding for weeks. Her phone buzzed, a text from Ethan. "You killed it, sis." She smiled, tears pricking her eyes, but these were different. Not heavy, not broken. They were light, like the breeze outside. She thought of Ronaldo's words, Mrs. Thompson's faith, Miguel's empanadas. Kindness had cost her everything, then given her more. She looked at the stars, whispering, "Thank you," to no one and everyone. Familia was open, and so was her future. Sarah's journey in the story of Familia is a powerful testament to the transformative power of kindness, resilience, and human connection. Set against the vibrant backdrop of Miami's fine dining scene, her experience resonates deeply, offering lessons that transcend the narrative and speak directly to the challenges and opportunities we face in our own lives. As an American audience, we're drawn to stories of underdogs who rise above adversity, and Sarah's arc embodies this spirit. Her small act of empathy, writing a heartfelt note and offering a discount to a weary Cristiano Ronaldo, costs her a job but ultimately opens the door to a new life. Through her story, we're reminded of universal truths about compassion, perseverance, and the ripple effects of doing good even when the world seems to punish it. Below, I'll explore my reflections on the story and the practical lessons we can apply, grounded in an American cultural perspective that values grit, community, and second chances. First, Sarah's story underscores the courage it takes to be kind in a world that often prioritizes profit over people. Working as a waitress in the high-pressure environment of Ocean Elegance, Sarah could have played it safe, sticking to the script of polished service to secure her tips and job. Instead, she notices Ronaldo's quiet pain and acts on instinct, offering a lemon slice, extra vegetables, and a note that speaks to his humanity rather than his fame. This resonates with the American ethos of individualism, not in a selfish sense, but in the choice to act with integrity, even when it's risky. In our fast-paced lives, whether in corporate offices, retail jobs, or family responsibilities, it's easy to fall into autopilot, prioritizing efficiency over empathy. Sarah's choice challenges us to pause and see the people around us, co-workers, strangers, even those who seem untouchable, and offer a moment of genuine care. The lesson here is clear. Kindness is a risk worth taking. It may not always yield immediate rewards, but it plants seeds that can change lives, including our own. Applying this to daily life, we can start small. In a culture that celebrates hustle, where Americans often juggle long work hours and personal goals, kindness can feel like a luxury we can't afford. But Sarah shows it's not about grand gestures. A smile to a stressed cashier, a note of encouragement to a struggling colleague, or a moment of patience with a difficult family member can shift someone's day. For example, in my own life, I've started leaving thank you notes for delivery drivers or checking in on a coworker who seems off. These acts don't cost much time or money, but they build connections that make the world feel less cold. Sarah's firing reminds us that kindness can come with a price, but her story also proves that the universe often finds a way to balance the scales. Another key takeaway is the power of resilience in the face of injustice. When Victor humiliates Sarah, firing her in front of guests for her small act of compassion, it's a gut punch. Her walk home, heavy with the fear of failing her family, is a moment many of us can relate to. Those times when life feels unfairly stacked against us. In American culture, we're taught to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. But Sarah's story adds nuance to this. Her resilience isn't about denying pain, it's about feeling it and moving forward anyway. She doesn't wallow, even when despair tempts her. Instead, she eats Miguel's empanada, answers Carla's call, and steps into the unknown at the Meridian Hotel. This reflects a distinctly American trait, the ability to keep going, to see setbacks as setups for comebacks. It's the same spirit that drives entrepreneurs to pivot after failure or families to rebuild after hardship. In practice, this means embracing setbacks as part of the journey. Whether it's a job loss, a failed project, or a personal rejection, we can learn from Sarah to lean on our support systems, like Miguel's friendship or Mrs. Thompson's encouragement, and stay open to unexpected opportunities. For instance, after a recent career setback, I felt defeated, but I reached out to a mentor and took on a small freelance gig that led to new connections. Sarah's story encourages us to keep showing up, even when the path is unclear. It's not about ignoring the hurt, but about trusting that something better waits beyond it. The role of community in Sarah's transformation is another profound lesson. She doesn't rise alone. Miguel's empanadas and pep talk, Mrs. Thompson's advocacy, and Ronaldo's belief in her all play a part. In American culture, we often celebrate the lone hero, but Sarah's story reminds us that no one succeeds in isolation. Ronaldo, a global icon, could have dismissed her note as insignificant, but he chooses to act, offering her a role at Familia and a check to ease her burdens. Mrs. Thompson, a quiet philanthropist, uses her influence to support Sarah's new chapter. Miguel, a fellow dreamer, reminds her of her worth. This mirrors the best of American communities. Think of neighborhood fundraisers, church groups, or co-workers rallying around someone in need. It's a call to both seek and offer support, recognizing that our strength lies in connection. Practically, this means building and nurturing our own networks. In a world of social media and fleeting interactions, we can prioritize real relationships. Call a friend who's struggling, offer to mentor someone starting out, or like Mrs. Thompson, use whatever influence you have, big or small, to lift others up. I've started making time for coffee with old colleagues, not just to network but to listen and share. These moments create a safety net for life's falls and amplify our successes. Sarah's story shows that when we invest in others, we're also investing in ourselves. Finally, the story highlights the redemptive power of second chances. Ronaldo's offer to Sarah isn't charity, it's a recognition of her character. Familia becomes a space where her values, empathy, respect, heart, shape a new kind of restaurant. This aligns with the American belief in reinvention, the idea that no matter where you start, you can build something new. Sarah goes from a fired waitress to a manager, not because of luck but because she stayed true to herself. Ronaldo too finds redemption, turning his own struggles into a vision for a business that prioritizes people over profit. This speaks to anyone who's ever felt stuck, reminding us that our lowest moments can lead to our greatest breakthroughs. To apply this, we can look for ways to create or seize second chances. Maybe it's taking a course to pivot careers, apologizing to mend a relationship, or starting a passion project like Miguel's food truck dream. For me, it meant volunteering at a local community center, which rekindled my sense of purpose after feeling burnt out. Sarah's leap into familiar shows that second chances often come disguised as challenges, and it's up to us to say yes. In the end, Sarah's story is a beacon of hope in a world that can feel harsh and transactional. It teaches us to lead with kindness, even when it's risky, to push through setbacks with grit, to lean on and lift up our communities, and to embrace the possibility of starting over. These aren't just lessons for grand moments, but for the everyday. The coffee shop, the office, the family dinner table. Sarah's small note changed her life because it came from her core, a place of authenticity and care. We all have that power to touch lives with simple acts, to keep going when it's hard, to build something meaningful with others. If Sarah's story moved you, hit that like button to spread the love. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that kindness always comes back around. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for more stories that inspire and uplift. Drop a comment below. Would you have written that note like Sarah? Or share a time when a small act of kindness changed your day? Let's keep this conversation going and build a community that believes in second chances and the power of heart. See you in the next video.